Okay, so let's practice a hand-worked backstitch. For this task, you will need a few supplies. You will need dressmaker shears, a pin cushion with a threaded needle, and extra sewing thread. Stick pins, ball-headed pins can be helpful to keep your fabric layers organized. And you will need your sample fabric to practice your backstitching on. So the backstitch is one of the strongest hand stitches. It is used to replace broken machine stitches and to secure the beginning and end of a row of stitches. You can use a strip of tape, scotch tape, or masking tape like I have to control the consistency in the length of your stitch. And also it can be helpful to keep your stitching straight and on point is to draw your stitching line from your pattern. You can see it on the fabric very faint, but that's the line that I use to mark my tape. Now on my tape, I used a ruler to make even marks so I know where to puncture my fabric to have an even backstitch. Now let's practice the backstitch. So to start off, I pierce my fabric. Let's move these out of the way. I pierce my fabric so I have a knot in the back of my fabric. So to begin your backstitch, you're going to make a running stitch. You're going to start off with the running stitch. Now I'm going to keep my needle at the surface of my fabric so I don't lose it on the wrong side. Now when you use thread, regular machine sewing thread, it can be a challenge, especially when you have thread as long as mine. But you take your time, it's going to work. So this is the first step for your backstitch. Now when you have pierced your fabric, you leave a space to fill in to see your backstitch form. So now I'm going to go in the fabric right in the front of my previous stitch. I'm going to come out again, leaving a space the length of my stitch. So I like to tell students, you leave a space, you fill it in. Leave a space, fill it in. And you work your backstitch from right to left. Leave a space, fill it in. We'll do one more if you'd appreciate. So I entered the fabric right in the front. Oh, let's let the screen focus. It's not going to focus. Here we go. The needle punctured in the front of my previous stitch. And I came out leaving a space to fill in to see my backstitch. So I'm guessing that's why we call it a backstitch. You have to work backwards in a sense. So we'll do one more. And that's our backstitch. There you have it. You continue this pattern until you get to the end of your sample. When you get to the end, you can make a knot at the back or make smaller back stitches at the end to secure your row stitching.